My name is Suzette. I'm presenting Unilever. My classmates are Lauren, Nathaniel, Zachary, and Taylor.
My name is Zach Nahara, and the first topic I would like to discuss about the Unilever company is their use of resource dependence. The organizational relationships in the business ecosystem that Unilever is a part of are competitive and dissimilar, meaning these companies are competing fiercely with one another and are very different from each other, offering various products to consumers. The framework for interorganizational relationships that Unilever uses to navigate its complex and global operations is resource dependence. The resource dependence theory is characterized by the dependence that organizations face on resources, like raw materials and capital, that are often controlled by other organizations. These dependencies shape the relationships and strategies of organizations in the same ecosystem as they seek to reduce uncertainty and increase control over their critical resources. Resource dependence helps Unilever manage its interorganizational relationships by minimizing their dependence on other organizations for the supply of resources and strategically managing their access to said resources. In other words, Unilever doesn't want to rely on any other organizations to obtain the resources they need in order to produce their products. In fact, Unilever wants to have more access and control over their specific resources so that other companies don't have the power to determine Unilever's success by interfering with said resources. Unilever, as a major player in the consumer goods industry, relies on various external entities for resources, such as raw materials like palm oil, soybeans, tea, and distribution channels. By understanding and managing these dependencies, Unilever ensures a stable supply chain, minimizes risks, and secures access to essential resources needed for its products.
I would be mentioning how the organization relationship with Unilever, with the framework where it falls under. So the category I believe it falls under is with collaborative networks. So with Unilever, they have a few factors that the book mentioned in Organization Theory and Design, 13th edition by Richard. So a few of the bullet points that I made to help explain it is how the company they help join together, and because of that factor, it makes them become a stronger competitor with it because they share resources. Along with that, they also work with small companies and supplies. And one of the images below shows some of the companies they work with. I also will be talking about that on the next slide as well. That helps explain these images better. Because of that, it also shows how well they are good with their networking skills because of working with these different small companies or businesses. To further explain with collaborative networks, as I said before, with the images I put below, to help explain what those were, to help back up this statement, was how on the website they have listed some other brands and the numbers along with it of like how many business groups they have. So they have 4 business groups, 30 power groups, and 24 top markets. So with Unilever, they already are aware of what they're lacking and what they need to improve in order to stay ahead of their competitors. So for one, the main thing they need to improve was their growth channels, as well with their missionable brand supportability. So that already tells me that they already know what they need to work on. And this was mentioned in one of the reports they have written about. I believe it was back in their 2023 report or 2024 report. Um, and according with that, with them showing how they want to branch out from these different networks, it already shows how they want to go from beauty to food to well-being. That already shows how much more they are willing to go for to reach out to different customers to get more from the market.
Hi, my name is Lauren Hamilton, and I will be talking about Unilever's advantages. So, Unilever focuses on their suppliers and sustainable partners. Here I have included a quote that I think explains that very well. And then with this in practice, return is more promising both for the farmer or supplier and Unilever as a whole, but also the individual company they are working with. Another advantage is that the company focuses on ethics expertise and low costs. And with this all in place, partnerships also help with all of these aspects in collaboration, which is one huge aspect of Unilever's growth plan. Unilever also collaborates with companies that foster eco-friendly products and ways of manufacturing products. This in turn results in low cost, which is monitored by the collaborative companies that are using and developing software to track growth patterns for Unilever as a whole. AI also plays a role in this. It helps with them being able to see the future and where the company is headed. Growth is what Unilever prides themselves on. As I have stated before, they work with smaller or upcoming companies to foster their growth. And on their website, I have found this growth plan as well. And I think that it illustrates very well what the company is doing and their positive impacts on not only other companies, but just brightening everyday life for all, as it says right there in their purpose. Now I will be talking about the disadvantages. So Unilever does rely heavily on other companies. If someone at that collaborative company does anything that can impact members or their supply and demand, get them into legal trouble, any of those negative aspects, both Unilever and the company will be in trouble. It also takes some of the control away from Unilever as a whole. And then another aspect is disagreements with new products and designs. It would be very difficult for both parties to be 100% satisfied with the outcome. This could then cause conflict between Unilever and then the other business or company that they are working with. And then another huge disadvantage is just competition. Here is a competitive analysis just based on other companies. So making sure that they are being technologically advanced and just staying ahead of other competing companies is another big disadvantage for the company.
Hello, this is Taylor Tucker, and I'm going to speak more about Unilever's matrix structure. A global matrix structure is a way for multinational companies to operate fully in multiple countries, taking into consideration cultural norms, product specifications, and promotions. This typically involves a primary director, CEO, or owner over multiple divisions that are in charge of their own products and services per each country or divisional aspect of their global location. Unilever has adopted this structure similar to other companies like Coca-Cola, Starbucks, and even Spotify to diversify their offerings and remain a leader of competitive advantage. The picture to the right is a vintage promotional poster for Unilever products in South America, including some of their product offerings based on each region in South America. As stated previously in our presentation, Unilever has divided its core competency into 5 business groups, which is a new change as of 2022. This allows each group to monetize and perfect their own division while also finding out where their products can operate and expand on a global scale. They have a belief that each group is responsible for their own global exporting and expansion. That way, it's a core focus of each group and their own, and no product is getting cross mixed within another. This is important for each division because it also allows them to focus on the cultural norms and expectations within each global distribution area and build stronger relationships with each culture. This also gives each group more autonomy to make decisions for the betterment of the business as well as the betterment of each global location where the products are being distributed. For example, you can see in the picture to the right that Skippy Peanut Butter is centrally located in North America as a good global distribution point and customer buy point, but it's only popular in one other part of Europe and nowhere else. That's because their matrix structure has allowed them to study the regions and decide where the products are marketable and popular for purchasing. Alan Jope, their CEO, explains this as a way to be more responsive to consumer and channel trends with crystal clear accountability for delivery, meaning that each group will be accountable to the products, their knowledge of the trends, cultures, and more.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel and I will be going over some of the advantages and disadvantages of the global matrix system. Some of the advantages of using a global matrix organizational structure include the ability to focus on global uniformity, local fit, and responsiveness, as shown to the figure on the right. By being able to focus on uniformity on a global scale while simultaneously focusing on local fit and responsiveness, a company such as Unilever can ultimately get the best of both worlds. Unilever gets to reap the benefits of profit on a global scale by being able to standardize products and operations across their company. Unilever also gets to reap the benefits of profit on a local scale while being able to be responsive. Another advantage of the global matrix structure is the ability to respond to a dynamic market. For example, since Unilever encapsulates many smaller companies, those smaller companies can combine different aspects of functionality and product division to allow for a more competitive role across multiple countries. However, while there are many advantages to the global matrix structure, there are also some disadvantages. One of the disadvantages of using a global matrix organizational structure is the increased cost of managerial staff. According to Indeed, since matrix organizing structures require multiple managers to be effective, this naturally increases the costs relating to hiring and paying these individuals. As a result of having more complex structures, the number of managers may need to be increased to prevent people from getting confused, causing the company to spend more money on hiring managers. Another disadvantage of using a global matrix system is overall complexity. According to Michael Watkins and others, reported disadvantages of the matrix structure include slower decision making, a lack of role clarity, and complexity in managing performance. Running a global operation adds a lot of complexity to the situation. Many managers and roles lead to slower decision making due to waiting on multiple other people for different aspects of a project the team is working on. Also, by having many roles, the clarity of each role begins to blur as a result of communication errors or discrepancies in managerial performance. However, if a company can overcome these issues, the global matrix organizational structure can provide so many different and unique opportunities.